Good morning, everyone. So, I'm sure after our first session on the subject of cost and management accounting, now you all are well versed with what are basics of this subject, plus how to approach the study, plus what is the core essence of this subject. Though all these basics and core essence are not done, over the period of this entire batch, I will be adding in every chapter whatever is in that chapter plus something relating to the basics of the subject. See, every chapter, as you understand that chapter, you also understand how that chapter is related to the overall subject. So, very good morning, Ishwarya, Mustafa, Rajveer, Deepika, Thakur Arjun Bhai, Pooja, Prajapati, Harsh, Prasanna Singh, Gunjan, Kinnari, Aisha, Riddhi. I suppose some of you all are joined with your parents' name. So kindly let me know your name because it won't be right for me to address you by your parents' name. Medha, Basineni, Harsh, Prajyot. Okay, so you are Tulsi. Good. Okay, great. So students, before I take up the topic of today, let me tell you that costing is a subject which evolved over a period of time out of necessity and out of its practical application. It did not evolve like a subject of tax, where first laws were made and then people started studying and implementing the laws. It was rather first practical was done, and from practical, it was converted to the theoretical part, and the cost accounting principles were developed. Now, the best part of this is when I'm saying practical, practical does not mean solving. Practical means its application in your day to day life, how we saw in the previous class. So, why I'm again telling this? Because I want you all to approach this subject with the same mindset. That is, I always use this word whenever I'm teaching. You should feel the subject. You can study the subject from here also, and you can study the subject from here also. The moment you are able to study from here, the subject gets absorbed. And if it is getting absorbed, you will be able to expertise, you will be able to actually implement it in your profession, which is actually the purpose of putting this subject. Also, let me tell you, students, when we go to industry, this particular domain, cost and management accounting, has a huge demand in industry. And let me tell you, it is equally rewarding. If you are in the cost and management accounting department, tomorrow when you escalate to become the assistant commissioner, sorry, not commissioner, I'm into tax, assistant manager or the manager or HOD, the level of your status in the company, your earning status is very high when we are talking about this subject because it is very crucial. And especially if you look at today's business models, how they are evolving, all these e-commerce, quick commerce, in this cost and management accounting is gaining lot of importance. So this is such a subject which has now become the utmost necessity, same like accounts. Earlier, this subject was used selectively only by manufacturing industries because only manufacturing people thought that costing, cost control is necessary. Now, because of these fast developing businesses, new type of business models coming, and also specifically in country like India where the customer is price conscious, the costing, cost controlling, cost reduction, management accounting has gained lot of importance. So I'm trying to market my subject. Why I'm trying to market my subject? Because the moment you realize the gravity of this subject in the business world, in the corporate world, your inclination to study the subject with the depth will automatically develop. And this is what I want, right? Also, very important thing. Since this subject will be involving calculations, many times I have seen that students associate their liking or disliking for a subject depending upon how much they are able to solve it correctly. Let me tell you one thing, students. Whether your answers are right or wrong, that does not matter. When I studied costing at inter level, 50% of my answers were wrong. But that is okay because that is more a part of calculation where there are so many probabilities. You may be making some calculation error, you may be typing something wrong in the calculator, or maybe while you are thinking about this sum, you are mixing between the figures. That does not imply, or that does not, uh, you can say, is a parameter of how well you are performing in the subject. That is only the parameter for how well you are performing in exams. In real life, this subject is more of a judgment driven subject. This subject is more of understanding the business and applying your subject knowledge to the real business problems. We are going to study from today, like materials chapter. Later on you will study employee costs, overhead costs. In all these chapters, students, whatever you are studying, let me tell you that is required from the smallest of the company to the biggest MNCs and all those companies which are having multiple business units. And that is what gives value to this subject in your profession, in your career. So what I'm trying to emphasize is, maybe today, starting studying a topic, a concept, you may find it a bit hard. You may find it that no, I'm not able to solve fast. Somebody else has given answer first. That is very okay. I was never a first in my class, but that doesn't matter in profession, in career. All these things that I could give answer first or my answer was correct is only mattering in exams. And why I'm emphasizing on this, because I know as a student, because I have been student and I've been dealing with students, that as a student, you all are carried away more by this, that okay, whether I'm able to give answer first, whether my answers are correct, how many of my answers are correct. But remember, students, these things will not matter much when you are in your career. So for that, it is very important that you are strong, you are pakka in the concepts, in the foundation of the subject. And if that is strong, obviously with practice, what you are not able to do today, you will be able to do it better after 3 months, 6 months, because that is all about practice. Somebody may do it immediately fast because they have a good mathematical and calculative mind. I may not be having that fast or quick mathematical mind, but still, when I'm doing this in my career, in my profession, I may be doing it much better because this subject, as I said, requires other skill sets also besides calculation. Those are judgments, those are understanding the real business problems, and that is where you may be good at. But that is not coming out right now in the exams because exam questions are designed in a different manner. The real life problems that comes to you in the business, in that corporate scenario will be very different. That is where the other skill sets would be used. So keep this in mind when you are studying any subject. Because let me tell you, students, your real CA knowledge, your real CA career starts at inter. When you study subjects like costing, financial management, auditing, taxation, In fact, even the subjects which you studied at foundation, like accounts and law, here when you study, the approach is very different. In fact, what you felt that, okay, accounts, what I was knowing, suddenly here you come to know that, okay, what I was knowing was only 10%, 20%. Actual accounts is something much, much wider. So this is your real CA level. And this is where you are going to take your first step in becoming the professional for the world. So have that approach, have that बिंदास approach कि ठीक है आज नहीं समझा, नो प्रॉब्लम, लेट मी वर्क ऑन इट, कल समझ जाएगा. अच्छा उसको फर्स्ट आंसर आ गया, नो प्रॉब्लम, मेरे को प्रैक्टिस से आ जाएगा. मे बी मैं फर्स्ट आज आंसर नहीं दे पा रहा हूँ, दैट इज ओके, बिकॉज दैट विल मैटर ओनली टिल एग्जाम्स. Let me strengthen my understanding of the concepts and how it is actually applicable. And with this, I would also like to tell you that when we are studying any concepts, try to link it with your day-to-day activity. In all my chapters, in all my concepts, I'll try to link that particular chapter, that particular concept with something around you so that you will get the feel of that subject, feel of that particular concept and the workings. Fine. So with this introductory part about this subject, let me start with the technical part. So once again, good morning everyone. Those who joined late, Prajyot, Aditi, you are what? Shubhi. Okay, I first read Surbhi. Okay, so Omkar has come up with some inputs. Sir, what mathematical base? Oh, good. I know you because in topics like costing FM where maths is required, it always creates a sort of apprehension, sort of fear. So that fear has come out. Omkar is asking me, sir, what mathematical basics we should be aware of so we can understand the mathematical logic behind costing principles in a better manner. Let me tell you one thing, students. When I entered CA, like y'all, we also had foundation. I'm talking about 1996, 1998. When I cleared my 10th and I came into commerce, I did not have the knowledge also that there is something like CA. So I had never thought of becoming a CA initially. And that is why in standard 11 and 12, what many students do, I did. I dropped maths because that was optional. Because it is very convenient not to do maths, right? Out of fear and so many things. But in standard 12, towards the end of standard 12, when I got to know about CA, and I was very much impressed and I was very much attracted to this particular course. And when I met a CA, that was the changing moment of my life. So I decided to do the CA course. But my first biggest question or doubt, or rather not even doubt, a fear was that will I able be to do CA for two reasons. Why? I was not very fluent in English, and also I had dropped maths in 11, 12, so I was not in connect. And also I was not so good in maths because I was under an impression that CA is all about calculations, so you should be very good at maths. And then this same point came to me that what is the mathematical basis I should be having or I should be strong at? The answer is nothing from the maths that you studied till now. See, the maths that is required over here is only the maths which you have studied in standard 4, 5, maximum 6, plus, minus, divide, multiply. That's it. Students find it difficult in maths or the mathematical part because the calculations are too many. But too many calculations and this subject being maths is different. See, in maths, I'll tell you, I'll share my fear. I was not comfortable with many topics in maths, the calculus, the derivative integration, then something from statistics. Now I don't even recall the names because they were so horrifying at that time. I had virtually kept every of those topic in option during my 10th. I had virtually skipped many of them during my foundation, but still I passed maths and I became CA even without having the good and sound knowledge of those mathematical topics because they are not required here. See, those many of the mathematical topics are more of scientific application, not for your commercial application. So don't be worried or don't carry the fear which at least I was having in my initial days of CA course, that if I'm not good at maths, I will not be able to crack CA. Sorry. CA is calculation driven. Agreed. But now you all have calculators, which is making these calculations easy. And there is nothing of the mathematics topics, derivative, integration, calculus, probability, nothing. Yes, somewhere here and there, some small uh, knowledge of one of the topics of maths will be required. Like I just mentioned, probability out of 500 sums in one sum. That's it. And that would be the very basic part of probability. So, Omkar, answering your question for the benefit of all, you don't require to have any mathematical basic of any of the maths chapter except the basic calculation which you studied in standard 4, 5, 6. I hope I made it clear to all. Fine. Okay. So let us take it ahead from here, students. Keep discussing with me if you have any challenges, if you have any fears. Let us be also talking about that, because many times in a professional course that also plays a big role. You may be very good in your subject understanding, you may be very efficient, hardworking, but many times fears, misunderstandings and apprehensions is what actually brings you down. Fine. Okay, now starting with this topic, which is material cost. So when we studied the basics of costing in the previous class, we understood that what is cost? Cost are those expenses. What are cost? Cost are those expenses which are related, which are in the language of the subject attributable to your product, services, activities, which we call as cost object. Right? This is what we understood. And then for the purpose of costing, we bifurcated the expenses into three elements: material, labor, and other expenses. Now let us try to go further. When we talk about material, see again, please feel the subject. Don't only be theoretical or literal, feel the subject. We took the example of dinner. That will be my basic example for understanding all concepts. So if you are doing costing of your yesterday night's dinner and you want to find out what were the expenses which are attributable to the dinner which you had yesterday, you will find that there are broadly three types of expenses that were attributable. See, you incur so many expenses in your family, but out of all, only few are related, only few are attributable to your given cost object, and only they will be considered in the cost sheet, only they will be added to find out your total cost. Now, all those expenses which you are having can be broken up into three elements, three components, three, you can say, nature or types of expense. One is the material. Material, I'll come later because that is the main topic for today. What is labor? Labor is the human effort. So, in every activity that you are doing, that is making goods or providing service or undertaking any activity, human effort is always there. Like in case of dinner, the human effort started with planning. So, you cannot ignore that. So, the first thing that mummy will do, in fact, she will always bother you and that may irritate you at times, is kya banana hai? What you want to have. Because the planning starts from there, planning of everything, planning of what to cook, what all components will be required. Do I have those components? If not, whether I have to get from the market, then how much quantity, then what method I will be using for cooking, can I make it in a different flavor, etc., etc. All the planning part. That is again human. Now equated with any industry or business, that is all what your directors and the management does. Then with that planning comes the end, everything relating to okay, now I'll plan what all things have to be procured. I'll plan what methods, types I will be using for doing the work, everything. So first human effort is on planning and making the strategies. Then comes the actual execution. That is where cooking was done, where after cooking, serving was done, where after the entire dinner, cleaning was done. So all these are also human efforts, which over here becomes labor cost, or it is also referred to in your module as employee, which will be the next chapter after we complete material. Then equally important are those things which you cannot see, but those are the resources that are very important for doing the work. Like firstly, I needed the kitchen area. I needed the kitchen equipments. I needed some ancillary equipments in the form of a refrigerator, microwave, etc. And the main kitchen equipment in the form of the gas stove and so many things. Then I needed the utensils, firstly, which are required in cooking, and also the utensils which are required for serving and eating. So many resources are involved, and these resources carry some cost. If they are your own resources, it will be depreciation. If they are procured from outside, it will be rent, higher charges, and then expenses on their repairs, maintenance, and so many things, right? And a very important component, especially where your output is goods, is the material. Now, this material is something what is physical. In the previous class also, when I asked you all to prepare a cost sheet or find out the expenses, majority of the expenses that you all listed down were all material, because that is the physical thing which you can see, right? Now, since you can see all the material, so the most easiest thing that you worked out in your cost sheet was material. Now, material can be of different types. One is raw material. Like in our dinner, we had rice, dal, wheat flour, all those were raw materials. Then you have consumables, which were all types of masalas, the gas, the electricity, all these are consumables. Then you have components, spare parts, assemblies. So there are so many things that make up the material cost. Now, what we are going to study, when we are going to study these three chapters. Now this expenses is over there called as overheads. Why? That we'll discuss later, because majority of expenses are indirect. So instead of giving the name as expenses, they have called it as overheads. Now, in all these three chapters, which are your basic elements of cost, because these three only will make up your total cost. What are we going to study in all the three chapters? We are going to study the accounting. We are going to study the costing, and we are going to study the controlling. Since our subject is cost and management accounting, so you should know the accounting of all these costs, how they are accounted for. Then, since the major part of our cost accounting is firstly doing costing, so we'll study costing. And as we discussed, we also have to regularly ensure that our cost remains within limit, and wherever required to reduce, so controlling. So in all these three chapters of material, labor, and overheads, you will be studying the accounting of these costs, then costing, and then controlling. Is this fine, students? Anybody, any questions up to this point? Students, talk to me. Let me know if anything is not understanding, if anything was very technical. Yes, Krishna.
Sir, can you please explain what are consumables?
See, consumables are those type of materials. Like, see, again, take example of dinner. raw material was rice, which also became the final product. So you can see that raw material in the final product in the form of final rice, cooked vegetable, then chapatis. That is what is raw material, which actually gets converted into final product. But there are many other materials which are used in making your final product. Like for cooking the rice, you required water, you had put some salt, something to enable the cooking of rice. Similarly, while preparing the vegetables, you used oil, you used different types of spices. So those raw materials which are getting used, which are getting consumed in your manufacturing process, they may or may not be appearing in the final product. That is, in final product you may not see that item, but it is there, it was used, it was consumed. So like in case of dinner, it is the water, it is the oil, it is all the masalas. Similarly in industry, while doing many processes, over there also you require water. In certain things you will require oil grease, you will require different types of chemicals, inks, so many things are required, those are consumables. Fine, beta? Is it clear to all? Now we start with the main part of this topic of material: accounting part, costing part, controlling part. Before I explain that, what is very interesting about material? See, out of all the three costs, what is the most physical cost? What you can always see is the material. Now, when we are going to study this chapter of material, I will be always talking about kitchen, because in our house, kitchen is the place which is the production area, correct? And whatever you are doing in kitchen has a very close connection with this chapter. So majority concepts of this chapter we are going to study taking kitchen as our basic example. Yes, Gunjan Devi, it is consumable. So gas, electricity is consumable, beta. You're right. So now in material, broadly, there are three functions that happen for material. These will not happen for labor and these will not happen for overheads because they are not physical. One is you purchase. So first function that happens for material is purchasing. Then you store it until it is required. And finally, it is consumed in your production. So mummy goes to the market and brings different types of vegetables, masalas, dal, everything. Then these are kept in your house in different places, in different dabbas, boxes, etc. And every day, whenever she is doing the cooking, she starts using some part of this material which was purchased and stored in her that particular day's cooking. That is where you are consuming. Now, when we have to do accounting, when we have to do the costing, when we have to do the controlling, all these three things have to be done at every stage. Means accounting, you should do for all three. Costing, you will have impact on all three functions. And even at the time of controlling should happen at all stages. So just understanding that whatever we are going to study, the accounting part, costing part, controlling part, that has to be done for all the three stages, which will happen for material, right? Now, we start with costing first. Now, what is costing? So, in the previous class, I explained you that for doing costing, you prepare cost sheet. And in my cost sheet, my very first item of cost is raw material consumed, or you can call it as direct materials. If you remember cost sheet in the previous class, this is what we had discussed, and this was the very first component. Now, in that class, since I wanted to give you an overview, I only had written raw material consumed or direct material. But today, since we are in this chapter of material, let us understand it in detail. Now, when you are doing costing of yesterday's dinner, it is not sufficient to only write raw material consumed or direct material. Rather, you'll have to put down the names of each and every item, which you all have done in that yesterday's example. In the previous class, you all had done this. Now comes the most important part. How do we do costing of material? In fact, for that matter, costing of all expenses, material, labor, overheads, how it is done. Now pay attention because this is the most crucial part of this subject. Because when I want to do costing, what is costing? Two things is costing. One, visualizing or identifying what all expenses are required. So right now I'm only talking about material. So what are the different material items that you are going to consume in that particular dinner? So first identify it, visualize it, that is make a list. And then comes the second most important part, which I call as valuation. So only finding out names will not be giving you the amounts. You have to value, you have to find out the amount of each of these items that you spent in yesterday's dinner. I hope you are getting this. Now, this part is what is the most crucial step in costing. How do I find out the value of dal, of rice, or of so many things which I used yesterday in my dinner? So, answer is for this, you require two things. One is the quantity of each of these items. Yes, Vivek, quantities of each of these items. And the second thing is the charging price. The charging price. Now, when you have these two things, the quantity and the charging price, by multiplying it, you will be able to find out each item of material which was consumed, which was used for yesterday's dinner. I hope you are getting this. I have some questions in my chat. Let me go to them. Kinari is asking, yes, but a video is buffering, I know, but I don't know why this happens regularly. I hope my audio is clear. So if audio is clear, then I think explanation should not be a problem. So when I'm talking about material costing, that is finding out how much material cost I incurred, in that particular case, what I need to find out is two things. How much quantity of each item, like in dal, how much quantity of dal? So maybe you would have used 200 grams, 100 grams. That identification is required. That quantification is required. So you have to quantify, you have to measure how much quantity of each of these items of material was required in your dinner. This is measured by generally the engineers in the company. Now pay attention to this. Engineers have been taught in their syllabus of engineering so many things, out of which one of the calculations is about how much quantity will be required in making a particular product, whatever is the product. So let us say I talk about this pen. Now, when this pen has to be manufactured, a design of this pen, a blueprint, which we call, is given to the engineering department. And then they apply all the mathematical calculations. In fact, engineering is where you will be using all mathematical chapters that you have been studying. So they will use all the calculations of breadth, length, area, then so many things which you studied, right? Diameter and all those calculations will be done by them. And using those calculations, they will mathematically compute how much quantity is required, right? So Quantifying is done by the engineering department. Now, once this is done, our role mainly as a cost accountant is this: finding out the charging price. And this is what is the most crucial part in costing, that is finding out the charging price, right? So now we are understanding this chapter of material cost in detail. In material cost, you have to understand the accounting part that we'll be studying later, the costing part, and then the controlling part. Correct? Anybody, any questions or doubts up to this point? Pay attention. Now again, try to feel, because if you are being too mechanical with the subject will remain theoretical and it will not be absorbed. And then you have to learn it. I never believe in learning except for technical things like sections, like some formulae. In fact, even formulae in this whole subject, I will try to make it a point that you should not be requiring to learn each and every formula. Yes, some formulas you have to learn, but we'll try to go to the logics and concepts to understand how the formula was derived. Now, what is this charging price? So visualize your yesterday's dinner. When I was preparing the dinner, or when my engineering team was given the details of dinner for which costing is to be done, what they did was they gave me the quantity. Some copy. निसर्ग जी, थोड़ा मेरे इधर ज्यादा लैगिंग हो रहा है, मैं 1 मिनट लॉग आउट करके लॉग इन करता हूँ, क्योंकि मेरा वो ये भी नहीं चल रहा है बराबर, जो स्क्रीन है वो जस्ट नहीं चलने लगा अभी। 1 मिनट। यस, फाइन, मूव हो रहा है अभी स्क्रीन, पहले बीच में स्टक अप हो गया था। यस, सो स्टूडेंट्स, now let us feel this subject. So now you have to do the costing of material cost of yesterday's dinner. What you will do is, you or your engineering team will identify, will quantify this. Now for dal, let us say I required 200 grams. For rice, let us say I required 500 grams. Wheat flour, 250 grams. Something 3 pieces. Something half a liter. So depending upon different items of material, you will identify the different quantities of each of the material. अब ये first step में हो गया. Now the most important part in costing is this charging price. Now what is this charging price? Charging price is the price जो आप यूज करोगे to find out कि मैं मटेरियल का कितना खर्चा कल के डिनर में ऐड करूं. सो ये चार्जिंग प्राइस, वापस वी आर गोइंग टू सी अ sort of formula, but students don't be literally looking at the formula. I always say feel the subject. Now understand this. मैं सिंपल राइस की बात करता हूं. लेट अस टेक अ सिंपलेस्ट एग्जांपल. राइस जब परचेज करना था, when mummy went to the market, let us say the rice was rupees 50 per kilo, and she purchased 5 kgs of rice. But for purchasing this 5 kgs of rice, besides the purchase cost, there could be other expenses which are related to this rice. Like मे बी पैकिंग कॉस्ट लगा रहेगा अलग से, अगर ज्यादा क्वांटिटी लिया है तो आपको कोई हमाल लगा रहेगा तो उसका हैंडलिंग कॉस्ट लगता है, लोडिंग अनलोडिंग, उसको मे बी ट्रांसपोर्ट करवा के घर तक लाने के लिए यू वुड हैव स्पेंड सम एक्सपेंसेस ऑन द फ्रेट, दैट इज द ट्रांसपोर्ट कॉस्ट ऑफ दैट व्हीकल हु ब्रॉट दैट पर्टिकुलर मटेरियल टू योर डोर स्टेप। मीन्स वॉट, जब हम ये चार्जिंग प्राइस की बात करते हैं, व्हाट इज दिस चार्जिंग प्राइस? द चार्जिंग प्राइस is basically, I will find out. Now pay attention to my language. I will find out मेरे को ये मटेरियल एक यूनिट कितने में पड़ा। We normally use this language कि मुझे ये कितने में पड़ा एक यूनिट। This is the logic of the calculation. So what I do is I will एड अप सर्टन कॉस्ट। एक तो मेरा परचेज कॉस्ट था ये राइस का जो मैं पे करूंगा, बट आई ऑल्सो हैड टू पे फॉर पैकिंग, क्योंकि इसको पैकिंग लग रहा था जिसके लिए सप्लायर बोला आपको अलग से, जैसे काफी बार व्हेन यू गो टू द स्टोर दे विल से कि अच्छा कैरी बैग चाहिए, यू हैव टू पे 20 रुपीज एक्स्ट्रा, एग्जाम्पल। सो दैट इज व्हाट इज पैकिंग। देन हैंडलिंग कॉस्ट, भाई मुझे कोई हमाल लगा वो उठाने के लिए, लोडिंग अनलोडिंग कॉस्ट इन द व्हीकल, वापस इसके लिए आई रिक्वायर हमाल्स एंड ऑल दोस पीपल। देन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन कॉस्ट विच इज फ्रेट, कैरियज, कार्टेज, ये सारे वर्ड्स आपने अकाउंट्स में पढ़े हैं, राइट। एंड फाइनली आपके घर में आने के बाद जब तक ये मटेरियल कंज्यूम नहीं होगा देयर वुड बी सम स्टोरेज कॉस्ट ऑल्सो। दिस टोटल is my cost which is related to material. So what is the logic of this charging price? Let me add up all the expenses of material and make it one, और इसे अब इन्होंने नाम दिया टेक्निकली लैंडेड कॉस्ट ऑफ मटेरियल। क्या नाम है? लैंडेड कॉस्ट। जो अभी मैं आपको हिंदी में बोल रहा था, घर में कितने में पड़ा, लैंडेड कॉस्ट। एंड इन द डिनोमिनेटर, now this is going to be one of the mother concepts of costing. What is a mother concept? What is a mother formula? A mother concept, a mother formula is that जिस पे से आगे के बहुत सारे दूसरे फॉर्मूलेज डिराइव होने वाले हैं। सो यहाँ जो मैं आपको फॉर्मूला बता रहा हूं, दिस फॉर्मूला यू विल फाइंड रिपीटिंग इन मल्टीपल चैप्टर्स ऑफ दिस सब्जेक्ट बिकॉज दिस इज द मदर कॉन्सेप्ट। व्हाट इज द मदर कॉन्सेप्ट? कि जब भी आपको पर यूनिट प्राइस निकालना है, सी चार्जिंग प्राइस निकालना है मतलब मुझे पर यूनिट प्राइस निकालना है कि मेरे को मटेरियल का एक यूनिट कितने में पड़ा। फॉर दिस, दिस मदर कॉन्सेप्ट सेज कि ये आप आज मटेरियल का निकाल रहे हो, सेम कल आप लेबर का निकालोगे, आप हर चीज के लिए पर यूनिट प्राइस जब निकालोगे तो दिस कॉन्सेप्ट विल बी फॉलोड, विल बी अप्लाइड इज इन द न्यूमरेटर यू विल टेक द टोटल कॉस्ट जो उस मटेरियल के लिए लगा, परचेज, पैकिंग, हैंडलिंग, एवरीथिंग एवरीथिंग एवरीथिंग। एंड इन द डिनोमिनेटर you will not take total units, you will take the normal units. Now what are normal units? अभी हम बात कर रहे हैं कि मटेरियल परचेस, एक यूनिट कितने में पड़ा घर में। सो न्यूमरेटर यू हैव टेकन लैंडेड कॉस्ट विच इज मेड अप ऑफ ऑल दीज कॉस्ट। डिनोमिनेटर में आप क्या करोगे? यू विल से यूनिट्स ऑर्डर माइनस normal loss units. Very important. This is what is the concept of normal units. Means what? See, मेरा रॉ मटेरियल मेरे आसपास नहीं मिलता है। ये लेटेस्ट से मैं अगर गेहूं चावल की बात करूं, इट इज कमिंग फ्रॉम पंजाब। नाउ आई हैव ऑर्डर्ड 1000 kgs। सो मैंने जो परचेस किया है, मैंने जो ऑर्डर किया दैट इज 1000 kgs, बट आई नो मेरे घर तक 1000 नहीं पहुंचेगा, क्योंकि 5% आई नो इज माई एक्सपेक्टेड लॉस, जो होना ही है। अब आप पूछोगे सर 5% लॉस किस चीज का है? सो विजुअलाइज करो, जब ये सारी चीजें बड़े बैग्स में आती, जैसे हम गनी बैग्स बोलते हैं, कुछ जगहों पे उसे कट्टा बोलते हैं, तो 50 kgs का होता है। दोज गनी बैग्स, जब उनका हैंडलिंग होता है, तो काफी बार ये जो हमाल होते हैं, ये लोग जो हैंडलिंग करते हैं, दे यूज दोज हुक्स। वो हुक से उसको प्लग इन करके उसको चढ़ाते उतारते। तो काफी बार गनी बैग्स में होल हो जाते। आई थिंक इन स्कूल ऑल्सो समवेयर वी स्टडीड दिस। तो ये जब इसका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन हैंडलिंग हो रहा है, तो देर इज सम क्वांटिटी जो लॉस हो रहा है, और आप उसको अवॉइड कर ही नहीं सकते, क्योंकि सी हर चीज से रिलेटेड कुछ ना कुछ एक्सपेक्टेड लॉस होना ही है। कि भाई आपने ऑर्डर 1000 किया, आपको 1000 मिल ही नहीं सकता। वी आर एक्सपेक्टिंग 5% लॉस, यानी आपका 50 kgs तो हैंडलिंग ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में लॉस हो जाएगा। ना दिस लॉस में भी, जैसे मैंने अभी गेहूं चावल के बारे में बोला, कि भाई उतना यूनिट स्पिल ओवर होके लॉस होगा। कोई और चीज होगी, जैसे पेरिशेबल चीज होगी, तो मालूम है कि कुछ पेरिश होने की वजह से लॉस होगा। कुछ ऐसी चीज होगी जो ट्रांसपोर्ट में डैमेज हो सकती है, वो कुछ यूनिट जब आएंगे तो पता चलेगा अच्छा ये तो डैमेज आए, ये कोई काम के नहीं है। सो दीज आर वेरी कॉमन थिंग्स। सो इफेक्टिवली न्यूमरेटर में, लेट अस से ये कॉस्ट की सबकी एक्सपेंसेस मिला के टोटल आई मेरी 54,000। डिनोमिनेटर में मैं उसे 1000 से नहीं डिवाइड कर रहा हूँ। भले मैंने ये सारे खर्चे, परचेस कॉस्ट भी मैंने 1000 के लिए पे की, पैकिंग भी मैंने 1000 के लिए पे की, मे बी ये सारे कॉस्ट मेरे 1000 के लिए इनकर हुए, बट आई नो मेरे घर में आने वाला कितना है, 950। तो जो हम कमर्शियली कॉस्टिंग करते वक्त इसका पर यूनिट प्राइस निकालेंगे, जिसको मैंने क्या बोला, मुझे घर में कितने में पड़ा। तो वो कितने में पड़ा, कि भाई पहली बात तो मैंने सिर्फ परचेज का खर्चा नहीं किया, मैंने परचेज के साथ ये सारे खर्चे किए। तो जितने भी खर्चे इस मटेरियल के लिए हो रहे हैं, आई विल ऐड अप, and then I will divide it by the quantity which I expect to receive, not the quantity which I had actually ordered or purchased. Because I know even though I've ordered this, I will never receive this, because there is going to be some loss which will happen compulsory. You say, if you remember in the previous class, we had understood this concept called as normal loss. So what I will do is effectively, I will divide. And now I will get some per unit. I'm just making a rough calculation. Don't क्रॉस चेक है, मैं कोई कैलकुलेटर से नहीं कर रहा, लेट अस से रफली ये आ रहा है ₹55 पर केजी। दिस इज हाउ आई विल फाइंड आउट द चार्जिंग प्राइस। और फिर जब यहाँ पे मुझे कॉस्टिंग करना है, तो मैं राइस का प्राइस लेते वक्त 500 ग्राम्स ऑफ राइस जो मैंने यूज किया, आई विल मल्टीप्लाइड बाय 55। तो मुझे मिलेगा रफली ₹22.5 कल का कॉस्ट ऑफ राइस विच आई यूज्ड इन माय डिनर। सो आई यूज्ड हाफ अ केजी, दैट इज 500 ग्राम। और मेरा पर यूनिट कॉस्टिंग आ रहा है कि एक यूनिट मेरे को घर में कितने में पड़ रहा है, यानी एक केजी राइस कितने में पड़ रहा है, 55 में। सो मुझे कल के डिनर में कितना राइस का कॉस्ट लगा, 22.5। दिस इज हाउ यू विल बी डूइंग मटेरियल कॉस्टिंग। Now see, this is nothing technical, though it appears to be. But if you take a real example, you actually start absorbing the concepts and the subject. I hope this is understanding to everyone. Deepika, I am using both beta. So I have equal requests for Hindi also. So I'm using parallelly. I hope whatever I have explained till now is clear to you, Deepika. Right? But a petrol, Tulsi, how is it is a loss? Yes, beta. Writing notes, previous class also had uploaded after the class. This also, if you want, whatever I am writing on the screen, I will upload it. Don't worry. All these will be uploaded, students. Don't worry. Previous class notes I had uploaded, whatever written I had done. Yes, Tulsi. So that is part of your transport cost only, na? So when you have taken freight, carriage, cartage, petrol was included in that. We will not call petrol as loss, na, because petrol was used in running the vehicle. So वो यहाँ पे आ गया in this freight, carriage, cartage. The petrol is included, right? Students, I hope this is clear. Now, if this is clear, let me expand this concept. What is that? Now, many times you also incur taxes, right? So, there are many taxes which you pay. In that, whatever taxes you have paid on the purchase cost, like today it is GST mainly. If you are importing this material, there would be customs duty also. Now, that is also a cost. You will also add that as a part of your cost. Why? Because you are incurring, you are paying it for this material only. Now comes a very important concept that when I am finding out the landed cost means what is my total cost incurred for that material till the time it reaches my factory, which is called as landed cost. I'm adding so many expenses. But are we only going to add all expenses? No, there are going to be some subtractions also. Subtractions for what? Mainly for the first item, which is discount. So many times, whatever is the purchase price or purchase cost, in that there are different discount terms which the supplier offers. If you buy so much of quantity, I'll give you a discount. If you make upfront payment, I'll give you a discount. So if there is any discount which you are getting, you will subtract it. Also, what you will subtract is, now pay attention, credit of taxes. Now, what is this credit of taxes? See, there are taxes like, as I gave you example, GST is there, customs duty is there. So you are paying these taxes, correct? So when you are paying, it is your expense, it is your cost. But out of these taxes, many of the taxes you are able to get back the benefit when you are going to finally sell your final product. So when you sell the final product, whatever taxes you had paid now means at the time of purchase, that will get adjusted from your final sales cost or sales tax, and hence effectively this tax which you have paid now is not going to be your cost because the government is giving you the credit of these taxes, that is the benefit of these taxes. Now even though I have added the taxes here, if these taxes will be returned back to me, then effectively it is not my cost. So I will even subtract that. So what I'm going to subtract from my this total cost in the numerator is one discount and all those taxes for which later on I'm going to get the benefit back. Yeah, beta. So if you want to write, so you can along with me, you can start taking notes. Na? I cannot wait for you all to write everything because then the class will never get over. Neeraj, cost sheet is never available in public because like your financial documents like P&L and balance sheet, cost sheet is not a document which is for external use. In fact, that is the most important part about this subject, that whatever reports we are preparing, all these costing and calculations are done. These are all internal documents and reports which are not published. In fact, cost, Neeraj, is your very sensitive data. In fact, your competitors should never come to know your cost because then they will get to know how you are pricing and everything, which may not be a very good thing for your business. So these are the most sensitive data. In fact, within the company also, everybody does not have access to this. Only the limited persons, one who are in the costing department, two who are in management, three who are in planning and controlling. Only these people selectively have access to this data in the company. So students, this is the final total working of how to find out the charging price. So you add up all the expenses related to your material and you subtract mainly two things, all types of discount. Now discount may be called as discount, rebate, all those words can be used. And of those taxes which you are going to get the benefit later, of which the taxation law like GST law gives you credit, you will subtract that. So you have added all taxes firstly, but out of those, wherever you are going to get the benefit back, you will subtract, which is called as credit. So in case of GST, you'll study, it is called as input tax credit that you'll study in GST later, right? And in the denominator, you will have the units which you ordered minus whatever is the loss expected. Fine, students. Now, this is the first practical or the working concept that we have studied. So let us take up one or two practical examples. Now, this is my sheet which I'll be uploading today for your future reference also. This is the sheet where I have made a short notes of all the concepts or all the things that are there in the syllabus. Plus, it comprises of the questions, right? So this sheet will be uploaded later. As of now, let us start solving. Now, whatever question we are going to solve, I will request that you take a screenshot of this so that even though I'm changing my screen to from this to the working screen, you will have the question for your quick and easy reference. 1 second. My PC is showing below. 1 second, students. Just 1 minute. I will plug in the charger. Students, in the meantime, you'll just take a screenshot of this question 35 and start reading the question. I'll just do the plug-in of charger. Also, students, get ready with your notebooks, pen, calculators, because that will now on be required because now we are going to do solving of questions. Now, this is the first category of practical question that we are going to solve. What is this question dealing with? Determining the cost of material purchase. Sorry. So the concept is what? It is determining the cost of material purchase. 1 second, I'll make it a PDF first. Okay. For your reference, you can call it as what we are going to study in this is finding out the charging price. Charging price means how much each material is costing me per unit, right? Now, this is the type of question that you can expect, like you have 35, 36, 37. These are the different types of questions that you may get in this category. Now, Pratiksha has asked a very relevant question. Sir, is there any case of taxes for which we do not get the benefit back? Yes, Pratiksha. Like that is why this question is selected. So there are different taxes for which you do not get the benefit back. Like this one, the import duty. So the customs duty comprises of two things. One is the basic customs duty. So now, okay, I'll just make a change in this question. So we'll solve this question with this change. And when I'm sharing the final sheet, I will make the change in the sheet. So let us say this question says that your basic import duty is 25%. And I will add one more component. IGST is, let us say, 10%. Though there is no such rate like 10% in case of GST, but just for the simplification of the calculation, I'm using this. So let us say the question says like this, right? I hope this is clear to everyone. Now, if this is clear, let us solve this question. What are they asking us to do? I hope you all have taken the screenshot of this. So they are asking us to prepare a statement which will give me the quantity of material which I have issued. Issued means used in my production, losses, if any, closing stock of each type of material, plus what they want to find out is what is our main question. What is the cost of each material which is charged to the production? In short, they are asking me to find out the material charging price. Plus, I have to find out total material cost, the value of closing stock, etc. etc. So in short, all calculations that will be relevant will be done. Now, this entire working students is based on this formula. So what are you supposed to do? You have to find out the numerator where you will find out the total cost minus this. And in the denominator, you will find out the units. And by dividing this total cost by units, you will get the per unit price, which you will be using for your costing of this particular material. Now, since in the question, there are three materials, three different types of chemicals or materials which are used, we will make a tabular working for this. So ultimately, we have to do this, right? That is in numerator, we have to take total cost. In denominator, we have to take the units. But for this, what we are going to do is, we will make a tabular working. So it is question 35. So it is, first is statement showing quantity, one working, where my columns would be particulars and the names of the materials. What are the names of the material? Chemical P, Q, R. So it is chemical P, chemical Q, chemical R. And then it is statement showing cost, again particulars, again the three columns, chemical Q, P, Q, R. Fine, students. I hope this is understood by all. I hope you are ready with your hatiyar, your weapons, that is your pen, your calculators, everything, right? So great. So let us now start the working. What it says, the books of excellent chemicals reveal the following data regarding imported material used in their production in the manufacture for 2021. They require three types of materials. All are imported. So they have given you the quantity which they ordered from outside India. The price, which is US dollar per kg. Now, since this is a very old exam sum, it is the price is given rupees 48. Fine. Actually, today it is nearing 100. But let us say we'll go by the question as it is. Now, the import duty was 25% of the invoice value. Fine. So this is one additional cost besides the purchase cost. Then 40%. Achha, these are the import duty rates. So for P&Q, it is 25%. For chemical R, it is 40%. Then the insurance was paid at the rate of 25% again of the invoice value. And 75,000 was incurred for the freight, that is transportation and clearance. Stores overheads are 5% of the total purchase cost. Plus, I have added one more cost considering the present tax structure of India, that there is IGST 10%. Right? Now all this is about cost, which is the numerator part. Then for the denominator part, they have given some important information. During the year, 80% of material imported. So whatever you imported, out of that 80% was issued to production. So that much material was consumed by you in making your final product, assuming 4% allowance. Now what is this? This is the normal loss. Remember one thing, students, whatever losses you can predict before doing the work, which is the expected loss, which is the compulsory loss, is only what is called as normal. What loss happens because of some mistakes in negligence, that is abnormal. By some unexpected events like fire, floods, etc., all those are abnormal. Now, in any question, generally normal losses are given as a percentage because you can expect it beforehand. So you know that this much percentage would be my loss. So here it is given as 4%. So this data will be required for the quantity working. And then they've asked you to work out different things, total cost, then value, then what will be the cost of each type of material, and then prepare the statement. Now in the statement that they are asking us, for our formula, we require only a simple working like this. In the denominator, we require units ordered minus normal loss. Our work is done because we want only the normal units. However, they have asked us to find out how much quantity of material will be used in manufacture. So in our quantity statement, you have to find out this. We have to also find out losses and we have to also find out closing stock. So fine, since it is a requirement of the question, we'll do everything. Now, coming to the answer. So what they have asked us, we need to ensure that that is part of our workings and answer. So in my statement showing quantity, I will cover quantity imported. So whatever I have purchased or order minus normal loss, which is at the rate of 4%. If you remember the question, students, this is what I require for costing, which I call as normal units. But they want further details of how much quantity is consumed, how much is closing. So I will work out that also. Material issued for production. And when I subtract this, I will be left with my closing stock of material. So see, understand the simple working. This much is what I purchased. Out of this much will be lost. So this is the balance which I can use. Then out of this balance, something is actually used and the balance will be my closing. So this is the simple working, right? Okay. Quantities are 3,000, 4,500 and 5,000. So 3,000, 4,500 and 5,000. Now start using your calculators. They are saying 4% is going to be the normal loss. So I know that out of 3,000, 4% works out to 4 threes are 12. Correct? 4% works out to 180. And 4% works out to 200. Correct? I'm making oral calculations. Kindly reconfirm with your calculators. Just keep cross-checking. So these are the quantities which should be available with me for my use in production, right? start doing the workings alongside students. Now, remember students, practical questions require a thorough reading of the details given, because if you do not read and interpret the details given in the question correctly, you will end up making a mistake in your solving. So, what is this? What is about the quantity? During the year, 80% of the material imported was supposed to be used in production. So 80% will be used in production. Be clear with this. 80% of material imported. Now, how much is material imported? It is this. So 80% of this will be used in your production. This is the clear-cut language. So be clear with the language, whether you have to take 80% of this or this, that the language will tell you. And that is where many times we end up making a mistake. This is where reading of the question is important. It has nothing to do with calculation or maths. Because if your reading and understanding of the question is incorrect, your answering will definitely be wrong. So I have to take 80% of this. So 8 threes are 24, and this will be 3,600, and this will be 44,000. Now, this was the quantity which I can use after adjusting the loss. This is what I have actually used. So what will be the balance is the closing stock. So my balance would be here 480 kgs. The balance here would be 720 kgs. And here it would be 800 kgs. So this is my first part of the answer, which is about the quantity details asked in the question. Fine, students. I hope this is clear. Anybody having any questions, doubts, please keep asking parallelly, and also please keep solving parallelly. Right? Should I proceed? Students, keep responding. Himanshi, beta, what you want me to explain, let me know, because I've put it in very simple words. Raise your specific question. If you have any doubt in any particular point, make it very specific. Now, I go to the cost working part. Now in cost, I have to find out different things. So first is the purchase cost, right? Yes, Kinari, this is always what happens with everyone. So that is why I said read the question thoroughly. Now, along with this purchase cost, I have insurance, which I will be incurring. I have the taxes and duties. What are they? Now see, actually when you'll study customs at the final level, you will realize some technical part in customs calculation. We are not going to that technical part because this question is not designed on those lines. So we'll strictly go by the question. So you have the basic import duty, and what I just added for our additional understanding is the IGST. Correct? Besides this, another cost given in the question is freight and clearance. Right, students? Students, be connected with the question thoroughly. Beta, Himanshi, after normal loss, what is left with us is the normal units. What is normal units? In simple words, it is the usable units. So I ordered 3,000, out of which I know 120, which is 4%, is going to be wasted, lost for whatever reason. Think about this practically. That's why I'm saying don't be very technical with the question and the concept. It is day-to-day life. You ordered something from market, but you know कि आपके घर तक आने तक कुछ वेस्ट हो जाएगा, कुछ उसमें से लॉस हो जाएगा. सो आप क्या सोचोगे कि अच्छा लॉस माइनस करके मेरे पास क्या बचेगा, उतना ही मैं कंज्यूम कर सकती हूँ. दैट इज व्हाट इज नॉर्मल यूनिट्स. फाइन बेटा. ओके स्टूडेंट्स, have I missed somebody's question? Yes, Pratiksha has asked me. Pratiksha asks, sir, in case abnormal loss allowance is given. Firstly, beta Pratiksha, abnormal loss allowance cannot be given. What is allowance? Ki we are allowing you this much loss. That is why the word allowance is used. So we are allowing you this much. What can be allowed is only normal. Abnormal loss is what will happen that you will come to know at the end. See, like how in your accounts, when you are making the P&L and balance sheet from the trial balance, they give that, okay, during the year, some fire happened and this much goods were lost. Some flood or something happened, this much goods were lost. So that is what will be happening. In case they tell you, ki, okay, out of this many units which you imported, 200 units were lost. Why lost? Because of some abnormal reason. So that will be abnormal loss. They will never give you a percentage because percentage is there only for normal losses. Mustafa, yes, a typical student question he has asked, which I am sure everybody would be having in mind. Sir, how many marks? See, these questions, this particular topic or concept question ranges between 3 to 6 marks, depending upon how many workings they are asking for. Like this question, if I am the paper setter, I will give it for 4 marks, right? Okay. So students, let us proceed. Now I want your help in giving me the figures. So first I will find out my purchase cost. Purchase cost, how will get? This is my purchase quantity multiplied by the price, which is in dollar, multiplied by the conversion cost, because I want the cost in rupees because my entire costing is in rupees. So I want that you all please post me the purchase cost of PQR in your chat box. So use your calculators and give me these costs in the chat so that I can use it in my answers. Okay, so that's great. It means many of y'all are very much up to the mark and doing it promptly. Just don't make a haste in answering because that may end up in making mistakes. So I am taking the answer from the chat. So cost given to me is for P, it is 432. For this is 518,400. And for R, it is 960. So this is the purchase cost I'm given, right? Now, for insurance, what is given? Insurance will be at the rate of 2.5% of this invoice value, right? So I have to simply calculate at the rate of 2.5% of purchase cost. Now you'll have to give me the insurance, students. Yes, Pratiksha, step markings are always there at professional level. So don't worry. Step markings are there. Now I want insurance. Tulsi beta, how do we find out purchase cost? I told you, quantity purchased multiplied by the purchase price. Now, since the purchase price is in dollars, we have to convert it into rupees, multiply by the conversion rate, which is given as 48. So when you multiply these three things, Tulsi, you will get the purchase cost. Okay. So Kinari has given me even the insurance, 10,800, 12,960. And also 24. So this is your insurance cost. Okay, I need not add up because that is not required. Now, as far as the basic customs duty is concerned, again, students, be very clear with the language. Don't be in a hurry to solve it fast. Be precise. Once you practice a lot, you can then go for speed also. But until you have thoroughly understood the concept and practice it, don't go for speed because that may mess up a very good answer. Now, Tulsi, I'm just repeating for you. How did I find out purchase cost? This is my quantity multiplied by this is my per unit cost. And since this is in dollars, I will further multiply it by 48 to find out the value in rupees. Fine. Okay. Now, as far as import duty is concerned, Be clear with the question. 25% is for P and Q and 40% is for R. So take the right percentages. So here it will be 25% of 432, 25, no? Yes, and then 40 for R. Here it will be 25% for, and here it would be 40%, right? So it will be this, it will be this, correct? And it would be this. And students, okay, now IGST. I'll again repeat one thing. When you will study taxes, you will realize that the calculation of taxes happens in a particular manner, but that is not given in this question. So I'm not going by that technical calculation which will actually happen for taxes. We are going literally by what is given in the question. So the question simply says IGST is 10% of your purchase cost. Though I repeat again, actually when you study these subjects, there is addition of all these things. You'll add up all these and then on that total you'll calculate IGST, but that is not given in the question. So we will not mix up that point. We will go strictly as per what the question is saying. So 10% is 43,200, 51,840 and 96. Correct, students? So 10% was easy for me. I could calculate orally, right? Fine. Now, freight and clearance. Now, this is going to be interesting. Why it is going to be interesting? Because freight and clearance is given as total. The total of 75,000 will be incurred for freight and clearance. Now, till now, all other expenses were given separately for PQR. So we could calculate it individually. But this is given as total. Now, this is where you have to use some logics of how you will find out the freight cost for each of your materials separately. Correct, Rajveer? Yes, very good, Krishna. So now what we'll have to do, since this is given total, I will have to proportionate it. Aryan beta, IGST came as 10% into purchase cost. But let me repeat, Aryan, this is not technically correct because when you'll study taxes, you'll realize that the law says you'll add up all these expenses and then on that you will take 10%. If you're asking how 10% are in, so I have made a small modification in the question just to give you all the flavor. I have added that 10% adjustment in my question. So if you can see the screen of here, see, I've added this as an additional detail just to give you all the feel. Since this question I had taken from a very old exam, in that there was no IGST, but I added it just to give you all the flavor. Understood, beta? Fine. Now comes the most important point, 75,000, which is total. What is to be done? You have to proportionate it. And since it is the freight cost, we are proportionating it in the ratio of quantity. So I will write over here a portion in ratio of quantity, which is 30 is to 45 is to 50. How did I get this? I get it from here. 3,000, 4,500, 5,000. So the ratio is coming as 30, 45, 50. In this ratio, you should divide your freight and clearance cost. Okay, great. So Ishwarya has given me the breakup. 18,000, 27,000, 30,000. Fine. Yes, Tulsi has also given me 18, 27, 30. Krishna, same 18, 27, 30. So 18,000, 27,000, 30,000. Correct? Now I have to make a total here, though this is not final total, but I have to make a total here because the question further says there is going to be some storage cost at the rate of 5% of this total. So this is my total purchase cost. That is all the cost that I incur for purchasing. And the storage cost is 5% of this total. And then the final total is the numerator which I want. That is my landed cost of material, which is my main working as per the formula. So students, now you'll add up all these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That will give you your total purchase cost of all the three materials. And then taking 5% of that will be the storage cost as required by the question. And then taking a total of both will be your total landed cost. So students, give me this total landed cost final answer. I'll just take a 5 minutes comfort break. In the meantime, kindly post in the chat box the final answer, which is the total landed cost. Great. So many answers. I'll take up the first answer, which is of Tulsi. So she is giving me total cost of 642,600. So the landed cost as per Tulsi is 642,600 for B. $722,358 for Q. And 185,220 for R. 185,220 for R. Others are having different answers. 640 to 600. Okay, so many different answers. Final cost 640 to 600. 776, 674. Okay, so many different answers. This I'm having different in many other chats. Why I don't know. Why is there so much difference? Yes, Beta Kinari.
Morning, sir. Good morning,
Good
sir.
morning, Beta. Firstly, how do you pronounce your name? How do you
Kinnari.
pronounce your name?
Kinnari.
Kinari.
Yes.
Okay, tell me.
Sir, storage cost was 5% on the total cost, right? So per item we have to
Correct.
calculate
On
total
total.
cost.
Per item
So
means
like
what?
for
Obviously, na. So
per
for P,
item,
it will be
yeah,
different.
matlab
For Q,
for
it will.
P's total cost comes at before storage. P's total cost comes at 6,12,000, and if we add 5% to it, storage cost becomes 30,600, and the total landed cost becomes 6,42,600.
Correct. Tell me for Q.
Then for Q, total cost before storage cost becomes 7,39,800.
Okay.
Storage cost comes at 36,990,
Uh,
and the landed cost comes at 7,76,790. So seven
okay.
lakh seventy six thousand seven ninety.
Okay.
76,790.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
And for R it's 14 lakh 94,000, and storage cost comes to 74,700, and landed cost comes to 15 lakh 68,700.
Okay. Others, please check, confirm. So because I have multiple answers, I don't know why. Tulsi saying, sir, 38,400 hai na. Regarding what, beta? 1542. Why you all have so many different answers? I don't understand. Yes, Anand, Harsh,
Yes, sir. Hello.
tell me.
Sir, am I audible?
You are audible, beta.
Sir, she's correct, sir. Sir, actually, same answer. 6,42,600 for P, and
Hmm.
for Q, 77,67,90,
Hmm.
and for R, 15,68, and 700, sir.
Okay. So it means there is calculation error if others are having different answer. Because on
Yes,
screen
sir.
I'm seeing 1542 also as the answer for the R. And then
No,
there
sir.
is
No, it can't be that.
765, 720 for Q. I don't know
Sanjay,
why there are different answers. See, the figures are in front of your screen. So why are you having different answer, students? I don't understand why there are different answers. Students, this is a simple calculation, so I don't think why there has to be different answers. 68,700. I think this is what is perfect, students. Okay. Tulsi is saying, sir, 40% of 960 is 38,400. How can we beta 40% of 960 38,400? आप कैलसी पे चेक करो प्लीज. 38,400 होगा या 3,84,000 होगा? तुलसी चेक करो प्लीज. 40% है वो. So beta, please make your corrections wherever you are having mistakes in your. See, these are simple maths. And you should not make mistakes here. प्रतीक्षा बेटा, फ्रेट कॉस्ट का ब्रेकडाउन सिंपल है. आपको फ्रेट कॉस्ट को डिवाइड करना है इन द रेशियो ऑफ मटेरियल क्वांटिटी. When you divide freight cost in the ratio of material quantity, which is 3,000, 4,500, 5,000, then you get this, what I have written on the screen. Correct, Pratiksha? Good. Very good. So you all have realized mistakes wherever you all have committed. So students, this is the first working of this particular topic, which is finding out the charging price, right? Now, interestingly, we find out this charging price twice. One, at the time of purchase. What we have just done, we calculated this charging price when we purchase the material. That is, at the time of purchase, I find out how much price or how much cost I incurred for this, right? Now, interestingly, you again find out this charging price at the time of consumption. Because see, in material, you have first purchase, then it went to stores, and then when the production happens, you will be consuming the material. Now, between purchase and stores and consumption, there is time gap. Now, we found out this charging price. What is again charging price? How much one unit cost you, including all these costs. So what is the lump sum cost of one unit? That is the charging price. You calculated it at the time of purchase, which we just did. Rather, we have to just conclude this answer. Sorry, we have not yet done. We have to conclude this answer. So now you'll find out, students, the charging price. How that will be calculated? This landed cost upon the normal units. So this is the landed cost divided by this is the normal units. When you divide this, you get your charging price. Similarly, this is the landed cost and this is your normal units. When you divide it, you get the charging price. Similarly for R, this is your landed cost and this is your normal units. So when you divide this, you get your charging price. Now, we find out this charging price first at the time of purchase as we just did. But then interestingly, you have to again find out this price at the time of consumption. Now, what is this finding out the price at the time of consumption is now what I'm going to explain. So again, I'm saying charging price. Is somebody's mic on? Students, please put on your mics. Put off your mics. Okay. Charging price at the time of consumption. So what we just understood was charging price, but this charging price, this formula is, I will add over here, at the time of purchase. Correct? जिसको हम बोलते हैं ना घर में कितने में पड़ा. Now, after you have calculated this, for which we just did this example, the next part is finding out charging price at the time of consumption. Now somebody will say, sir, consumption के वक्त price कैसे बदलेगा? Whatever was at the time of purchase, the same should remain at the time of consumption. You are right. But now comes something which I'm sure you all have already studied, but now you'll understand the practical application. Students, do you all remember studying this anytime before? Students, do you all remember studying this? Very good. Pratiksha says yes in inventories. Aryan says the same. Riddhi, Inari. Achha, she's saying college. Neeraj says foundation. Medha, Roshna. So great. It means you all have studied this, right? Yes. Rajveer says AS2. Very good. Now let me tell you the practical part of this. So you have done it. Practical means you have done the solving, but now I'll tell you the real life application. Now see, whatever we just calculated was your price at the time of receipt, which you remember you always put here. Now in a typical FIFO-LIFO question which you have solved, this would have been your format: date, column particulars, then receipt, issue, balance, and within each column quantity, price, value, quantity, price, value, quantity, price, value. Now on the day one, let us say 1st of April, you have some opening stock which is being carried forward from last year at some price, and then multiplying it, you have the value, right? Now on 4th April, you have your first purchase, which let us say in the given question is your import, right? How much quantity you are receiving? You are receiving this quantity, students. Now see, understand practically. So this is my, acha, do you all know what is the name of this working that you all have done? Here we are calling it as charging price at the time of consumption and all. When you studied this earlier, you have studied this by the name stores ledger, if you remember. And I'm preparing stores ledger for my first material, that is material P. Now let us say this import happened on 4th of April, and how much quantity I received? That is 2880. So 2880 I received, and let us say I'm just making a rough price. Let us say the per unit price which I just calculated in the above working is coming as 51, for example. Correct? Now, in this 51, when I made the current purchase, yes, very good. So all of you all are knowing what this is. Namrata is saying, sir, I didn't understand how it comes 18,000, 27,000. Namrata, beta. I suppose you're asking for the breakup of 75,000, right? But I use the simple maths of ratio. Divide 75,000 in the ratio of 3,000 is to 4,500 is to 5,000. Namrata. So once you do that, you will get these figures: 18,000, 27,000, 30,000. Yes, so people know this. So students, now let me connect this with what you have studied earlier. So you all have done the working part of this. We are now into the real life application of this. So let us say I'm talking about the stores ledger. We are studying the stores ledger of your first material, that is material P. Let us say there was 500 units in your opening stock, which purchased last year. At the time of purchase, it was costing 48. So your price of this is 48. You will multiply, you get the value. Now today, when you made a fresh import, this one, which you received as 2880, and by doing all this costing, let us say here, assumed, I don't know what is the actual per unit price, but for the purpose of just making you explain the concept, let us say this is coming as 51. So here I will put in my receipt column as 51. Correct? Now, when you will start using this, which we call as issue for production. So now you start using this material for production, and it is given in the sum that you have used total 2400 units in production. So definitely what you do is you put this 2400 units here. Now comes my point. Again, finding out charging price at the time of consumption. Now, what is finding out charging price at the time of consumption? It simply means using FIFO LIFO weighted average. Now, interestingly, till date, you have studied this FIFO LIFO weighted average, but your objective was finding out closing balance, as rightly mentioned by many of y'all in the chat, that you studied this in AS2, you studied this in your inventory chapter, where you were looking at this FIFO LIFO and all these concepts from the point of view of finding closing balance. But here, I am more interested in finding out, obviously, closing balance we are finding out, but my interest in finding out how much is my cost at which I have actually used this material in my production, because this is what is the amount which will finally be added in my cost sheet as the raw material consumed cost. So in my cost sheet, when I'm writing raw material consumed as my first item of cost, how much will be that cost that is coming from here? How it is coming? I've already given you the formula in cost sheet. It is quantity multiplied by price. But then what is this price? This is the charging price. This charging price we calculated today was 51. But actually, when you're doing consumption, it may not only be 51. Why? Because you have some opening. There is a possibility that this consumption, before that, you have one more import. Possible. You have studied this in your FIFO LIFO sums. And let us say now that is costing you 53 rupees. Possible. Now, in this particular case, when you are actually consuming 2400, what is the data given? What will be the charging price for this 2400? This is what is now my point, which I want to explain you conceptually. That is charging price at the time of consumption. Because when you are finally finding out charging price at the time you are actually consuming the material, you have to see if there was opening stock. What was the price? Then if you have made purchases in 2-3 times, what is the price every time you are getting for these purchases? These prices we have calculated using the above formula, which we call as price at the time of purchase. So this is your price at the time of purchase. घर में एक यूनिट कितने में पड़ा? But when you are actually consuming this, now you'll again find out what is my final price at which I should charge it to my product. And that is where your FIFO, LIFO weighted average will come into play. If you are using FIFO, what you will do? I want to value 24,000, right? Now let us say I'll take few figures here. So my first import happened 288 units, 51 is my per unit price. My second import, let us say, happened on 8th April, where I brought 1200 units at the rate of 53. That is, the per unit price, landed price was 53. Now, if I'm using FIFO and I want to do valuation of that 2400 units, how I will do? 500 I'll use of opening stock at 48 price, and the balance 1900 I'll use from this first purchase, which is at 51. So now my cost will be this. This is my raw material consumed, which I will be taking in cost sheet. Now, what is the price which I've used for charging at the time of consumption? Two prices for this quantity, because I'm using FIFO. Let us say I change my method. No, I don't want to use FIFO. I want to use LIFO. Then what I will do is I will first use this 1200, for which price will be 53. I have consumed total 2400. So I will again use 1200 from here. My price would be 51. And then this total will become my raw material consumed, which will be taken in cost sheet as my final cost to be added in the cost sheet of this product. So what I've done, I've again calculated my price at the time of consumption. And this is how finally you will get your raw material consumed cost, which you will show, which you will add in your cost sheet. Students, I hope you are getting the whole process of reaching the cost sheet and finding out the material cost in cost sheet. So first is you find out the price by this whole formula. Okay, at the time of purchase, what was your per unit price? So we calculated that here. That per unit price at the time of purchase in this stores ledger format is put here. And then finally, when you are consuming this in your production, then using one of the methods, FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, simple average, you will actually charge it. And that will give you your total final raw material cost, which will be taken in your cost sheet here. So in cost sheet, it will be this amount, which I got in 2 steps. Is this clear to everyone? Students, we are in the technical most part of this subject. Yes, Neeraj.
Hello.
Sorry, beta.
Hello.
Neeraj, please tell me.
सर आवाज आ रही है?
Yes, yes. Tell me.
सर वो जो अमाउंट आया था 51-53, तो सर आप अजम्पशन किए हो या फिर वो पहले से कहीं लिखा हुआ था?
बेटा, आप थोड़ा ध्यान दो ना। मैंने ये अजम्पशन करके एक बार फिगर लिया आपको कॉन्सेप्ट एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए, कहीं लिखी नहीं है ये। अभी आपने कॉस्ट निकाला, लैंडेड कॉस्ट। आप इसको जब आपके ये क्वांटिटी से डिवाइड करते हो तो आपको एक पर यूनिट प्राइस आता है, बराबर?
यस सर।
नीरज, वो प्राइस
यस
फिलहाल
सर।
कैलकुलेशन में न पढ़ के मैंने एक बार अजम्पशन के लिए आपको समझाने के लिए बोला। समझो 51 आ रहा है, आप कैलसी पे करोगे आपको आ जाएगा ना कुछ प्राइस।
यस सर।
तो मैंने वो 51 लिया। वैसे ही मैंने फिर एक और एग्जांपल लिया जस्ट टू एक्सप्लेन यू दिस फीफो लीफो, जो आपने पहले से पढ़ा हुआ है कि लेटेस्ट से आपने और 4 दिन बाद एक और इंपोर्ट किया, उसका इसी फॉर्मूले से जब आपने प्राइस निकाला तो वो आया 53। और इसी का मैंने इसमें एग्जांपल लिया है कि ये जब आपका लास्ट ईयर का स्टॉक पड़ा है तो वो है 48, यानी आपके पास सेम मटेरियल 3 अलग अलग प्राइजेस पे पड़ा है। करेक्ट नीरज?
यस सर।
एंड देन व्हेन यू आर इशूइंग इट, तो अब हमें वापस इन तीनों प्राइस में से कोई प्राइस लेना है। एंड वो कौन सा प्राइस लेना है, दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन द मेथड विच यू हैव स्टडीड, फीफो, लीफो, सिंपल एवरेज, वेटेड एवरेज। और फिर वहां से फाइनली जो भी आपका मेथड होगा वो मेथड के हिसाब से आपका प्राइस डिटरमाइन होगा, और वो प्राइस से मल्टीप्लाई करके फिर फाइनली यू विल गेट दिस टोटल रॉ मटेरियल कॉस्ट। अंडरस्टूड नीरज?
ओके सर, समझ गया।
Perfect. So yes, I have taken these assumed figures so that I could explain you this whole process. Is this clear to everyone? So students, this is how you do costing. So we were on this first part of our syllabus of material cost, that how do we do costing of material cost. So this is the whole process. Perfect. Understood, students? So for doing costing, you have to find out the charging price. This charging price you find out twice. First, at the time of purchase, using the formula which we studied and solved the sum. And then whatever price you find out at the time of purchase, you may have multiple purchases, you may have opening stock, so you may have multiple prices. So when you are finally issuing it, which is also called as consumption of material, out of those prices, you have to take up a price which is selected by you using one of the methods of FIFO, LIFO, simple average, weighted average, which you studied. And this is how, after following these 2 steps, you finally find out this, the total cost, raw material cost of each material, which will be taken in your cost sheet. Okay, students, let us go to the next part of this topic, controlling. So when we are talking of material cost, labor cost, overheads cost, 3 things you have to be well aware of: accounting, costing, controlling. Now, if I have to tell you from exam point of view, in material, one type of question that you can get is on this charging part, which we just discussed. And most commonly what you get in exam is on the controlling part, which we will start now and it will be continued to the next class. So in material chapter, the practical questions that you get in exam, one is of charging part, which we just studied, but more commonly, it is the controlling part which is asked in the exams. So now let us move on to the second part, that is material cost control. Now see, when we talk about material cost control, basically what is material cost control? It simply means ensuring that the cost that you are spending on material will never rise beyond a particular level. And to do that, to ensure that your material costs do not rise beyond a particular level, we have a concept called as inventory control techniques. So now what we are going to study, the practical part is inventory control techniques. Now in this, we have different concepts. First is EOQ. Second is stock level concept. Third is ABC. Plus there are other concepts also, but they are mainly theoretical. Practical are these three. One more you can say, turnover ratio. So these are those practical concepts in the inventory control techniques part, which is now part of your control of material. So now we studied the charging part of material cost. Now we are studying the control part of material cost, in which you have the techniques for controlling your material cost. These techniques are called as inventory control techniques, and these are the names of the techniques. And let me tell you, majority in material, the majority questions in exams are out of this. So if I take total material chapter, 75% times the question, the practical question which you get on materials is on EOQ stock level. 25% times it is on ABC, turnover ratio, or charging price, whatever we calculated above. Now, remember that what we are going to study now on is the controlling part of material. And for controlling, what we are studying is the inventory control techniques. And in inventory control techniques, the first technique which we are starting now is EOQ technique. The full form is economic order quantity. Now, students, this appears to be a very technical name. But again, if I give you the real life experience and feel of this, you'll find that, oh, this is something very practical and very logical. Now, what is this EOQ, economic order quantity? Let me give you again a simple example from your kitchen. Now we are talking about one of the materials in your kitchen, that is rice. So we did the above working charging price for rice only. So even this second part, let us do it for rice only, right? Sir, the cost of each material charge to production which we got. So we will multiply that to closing stock to get the value of closing stock. Yes, beta. Once you have found out this per unit charging price, when you multiply it by the quantity of material issued, you get the material that is to be charged to production. And when you multiply it by the closing stock quantity, you get the value of closing stock. Hina, see, now you'll realize that this is what you have actually done in your stores ledger. Using the the FIFO, LIFO, all those concepts, you first found out the value of material which is to be charged to production, which is shown in your issue column. And also you found out what is the value of closing stock, which is shown in your balance column. So what you calculated that Today we have discussed that in complete detail. So you did the last concluding report when you were solving the sums of FIFO, LIFO, you are preparing the final report. Today I explain you how that report is reached by doing all these intermediate calculations. Pratiksha is asking, sir, doubt regarding CP, अच्छा, charging price. When doing valuation, we use the cost we get after the second step at the time of consumption, and it will be different every time we issue. Exactly, beta, Pratiksha. So this is what you studied in FIFO, LIFO, na? Every time you are making an issue, you have to see what are the prices at that time. And depending upon your method, which may be FIFO, LIFO, simple average, weighted average, you may get a different price every time. But that is what you did even in your FIFO, LIFO sums. So that is right. You are perfectly right when you are saying that you will every time get a different price for issuing, because every time the FIFO, LIFO will give you a different price. And that is why, pay attention, students. Since every time at the time of issue, FIFO, LIFO gives you different price, that is why practically industries prefer the weighted average price more. Because the moment you have calculated a weighted average price, every time when you are using that price, it is not changing the per unit price. It is remaining more or less the same because you have calculated weighted average. And that is where weighted average price method, which you all studied, is most commonly used in industry. So Pratiksha, you have raised a very practical and important issue that using FIFO, LIFO every time gives you a different price at the time of issue, correct? To avoid that only, in reality, people use weighted average, not even simple average. Fine, beta? Okay. Now coming back, what is this EOQ? See, students, keep asking such concept-based questions because this will bring more clarity to whatever you are studying. So we are studying the syllabus, we are studying the formulae, the workings, but how it is actually connected in the real world, that also needs to be understood to get an in-depth insight about the subject and concept. Fine. Now we are on again our rice, which is one of the most important materials in our kitchen. What is EOQ? Let us understand with a real example. So let us say the requirement of rice which you need in your kitchen, which is to be purchased, is, let us say, 100 kgs. Now I'm talking about your annual requirement, correct? We will call it as AR or short. So annually you require 100 kgs of rice. Fine. Let us say the purchase price, the average price, let us say, is coming 50 per kg. Now, what is EOQ? For this, you have to understand a practical point. What is that practical point? I require 100 kgs throughout the year. Now, I have different options of purchasing this 100. These options are called as my order size. Students, be attentive. This 10-15 minutes of conceptual part is very important to understand the whole technique of EOQ. Now, I need 100 kgs. I need to purchase 100 kgs. That is done. But how to purchase this 100? I have different options. What are those different options? I will go to the market and I will buy 10 kgs today. Again, after some time, maybe 1.5 months, I'll again go to the market, again buy 10 kgs. So every time I am buying 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs, 10 kgs. This is what is called as my order size, or technically it is called as my reorder quantity. Understand these names. They appear to be technical, but they are not. Every time you are going to place order with the shopkeeper of how much? 10 kgs. So this is your order size. But you will say, sir, why only 10? No, I'm not saying only 10. I'm giving you, these are the options. Somebody will say, sir, I will go and buy every time 5 kgs. Somebody will say, I'll go and buy 20 kgs. Somebody will say 25. Somebody will say 50. Somebody will say 100 at one time. So you have multiple options. I've just given you few. You have options from 1 to 100. You can select any of this, which you will buy every time. So every time you go to the market, you will buy that quantity, which is called as reorder quantity. In short, ROQ, which is also called as your order size. That is the quantity for which you are placing the order. Now, you may place any of these order. Rather, practically also today also, Mama is doing the same thing. She is placing order of one of these options. So every time she goes and buys 10 kgs. Maybe somebody in else's family, they go and buy 25 kgs every time. In somebody else's family, they are buying 50 kgs now, and after 5-6 months, 50 kgs. So total annual requirement 100 is done. But the point is, when it comes to cost control, is there any quantity out of this which is the best quantity to buy? Why it is best? Because cost wise, it is the most economical. So out of these all different options of order quantity, I have one quantity which will give me the lowest total cost of material. And that quantity, which is giving me the lowest, in English, we will call it as the most economical because it is the most lowest cost option. So out of these different options, one of the option will be called as EOQ, for which my total material costs out of all these options, the total material cost will be the lowest. That quantity for which the total material cost will be the lowest, that quantity we will call it as EOQ. Remaining are ROQ only. See, all quantities are ROQ. ROQ means the reorder quantity, that is a quantity which you will go and place order every time in the market. So all you have 1 to 100 options. But out of these 1 to 100 options, one of the order size is such where the total cost that you are getting is lowest. That order size is your EOQ. I hope firstly you are getting the conceptual point. So out of all these options of how much you can place order every time in the market, one quantity is such where your total purchase cost will be the lowest. And since that quantity is giving the lowest cost, we will say out of all the order quantities and sizes, that is the most economical order quantity, most economical order size, and that is what is called as EOQ. So others are continued to be called as ROQ, that is, they are all reorder quantities, but one of them is the lowest cost. So we call that one quantity as EOQ. Now, since we are studying the concept of cost control, we need to find out this quantity and suggest it to the management ki boss, you may buy any of these options. Rather, you are presently already buying one of these options. Let us say this you can do in your house also. You can tell mummy ki mummy, you are buying all these quantity options. In some houses it is 5, in some houses it is 10. It is okay. But if you buy this quantity, your total cost will be lowest. This is how we as consultants advise the management, and this is where your value is very high in the organization. This is what I also mentioned at the start, because such suggestions will help the management save lot of cost. And in this particular practical part, we will study that with actual workings. You will also get to know, okay, how the cost is saved. And the same thing is applied in real life. Now, to understand this working, we need to understand few more details. So one detail is 100 kgs is your annual requirement which you need to purchase every year, because that much you will require every year. Then I've given you purchase price. Then comes a very important cost which is called as your ordering cost, which is generally in short referred to as O. So remember, this O stands for ordering cost. What is this ordering cost? See, when I decide to purchase, I have to go to the market. I have to go to the shop. I have to place the order, take the material, bring it back to my factory. This whole process has a cost. I have to go to the market, so I will incur some transport costs for going and bringing the material. Also, some of my time is spent And my time is having some cost because I am being paid. I am a worker. I am the purchase manager. So if my time is invested, the company is paying me some cost, some pagar, some salary for that. So that is the cost of my time also. All this makes up the ordering cost. So what is ordering cost? The cost of buying and bringing the material to your factory. And this cost is generally per order fixed. So every time you go to the market, you will spend this much quantity. So let us say it is given as rupees 200 per order. Now, ultimately, I want to find out total material cost. Now, what are this total material cost? So one is my annual purchasing cost. One is my annual ordering cost, and one is my annual carrying cost. These three makes up my total annual material cost, and I'll try to find out of all the options which option is giving me lowest of total annual material cost. Hina is asking about some amendment, but don't worry, everything will be covered in the class. Fine. If you have marked that amendment, let me know the page where you have studied that amendment. I will explain you how that is used or what is the practical example of that. Yes, Aishwarya, I am explaining everything. Just allow me some time. So my total annual material cost is what? It is made up of all the costs that I will incur for the material. We just now saw the total landed cost. That is what is your total annual material cost. So it is made up of three costs. One is the purchase cost. Then you have the ordering cost. What is this ordering cost? Cost which is required for going, buying, and bringing the material to your factory. And then you have the annual carrying cost, which is the storage cost. So all these three only make up your total landed cost, which we saw in the previous sums, but that was giving each names. Here we are giving three categories. Now, understand one thing, students. I want to find out that total which is lowest, because for whatever quantity I am getting the lowest total material cost is what I will be preferring, and that quantity will be called as EOQ. For this, we need to add up these three costs: purchase, ordering, carrying. Now, how will you find out your annual purchase cost? That will be simple. It will be your annual requirement. How much it is? It is 100 kgs multiplied by my purchase price, because every time I will purchase, they will charge me rupees 50. So 100 kgs I need into 50. 100 kgs I need into 50. 100 kgs I need into 50. In other words, my annual purchase cost will be same in all the options. Why it will be same? Because annually I have to purchase 100 kgs and my per kg price on an average is coming as 50. So my annual purchase cost in all the options is same. So that is not changing. What is changing in all the options is my ordering and my carrying cost. Now students, pay attention. How much is this annual ordering cost? Now I just explain you that I incur every time rupees 200. So whenever I have to go and make purchase, I have to spend rupees 200 every time. So it is per order. Now, very important. Depending upon what order size I have selected, I will have to go that multiple times in the market. Example, if I have selected my order size as 5, that is, I will purchase every time 5 kgs. So how many times I have to go to the market? I will have to go to the market 20 times. How 20 times? So see, number of orders. It is annual requirement. This now onwards I'll call as AR. Just keep that in mind. Upon order size. So my annual requirement is fixed. How much it is? I require 100 kgs. Now, if I select my order size as 5 kgs, that is every time I'll go to the market and buy 5 kgs. So it means 20 times I have to go to the market and do the ordering. If let us say another option, I have selected 25 kgs as my order size. That is every time I will be placing order of 25 kgs. Then 4 times in the year, I will be placing the order. That is the number of times I have to place the order is 4. Similarly, if I have selected 100 kgs as my order size, that is I will buy 100 kg only, it means I have to go to the market only one time. So this is how I get my number of orders. So what is number of orders? Number of orders is annual requirement, that is AR, upon order size. Now, how will I get my annual ordering cost? It will be number of times I am placing orders, and every time how much is my cost per order. So in this example here, if I've decided to order size as 5, I've just explained you how many times I have to go to the market. I have to go to the market 20 times, right? T stands for times. Multiplied by every time I have to spend 200 on the travel cost, on the time cost. Every time I have to spend 200. But if I decide to place 25 kgs order every time, so I just calculated here how many times in the year I'll be going to the market? Only 4 times. Every time again I spend 200. So this is my annual ordering cost for this option. And here I will be going only one time in the market. So my annual ordering cost will be this. So how do I get my annual ordering cost? It is number of orders, that is number of times you have to go to the market, multiplied by every time how much is your cost. So finally, what is the formula of annual ordering cost? If I have to put it, it is AR upon order size, because this is what gives you your number of orders I just explained. Multiplied by what is the cost per order? We have called it as O. Correct, students? So this is my annual ordering cost formula, and this is how I will get my cost here every time. Now this will calculate for all the options. I've given you for 3 options to take for an example. Now comes the last cost, that is carrying costs. What is this annual carrying cost? Students, pay attention. Annual carrying cost. In very simple words, it is the cost of keeping the material till it is finally used. Now, first, if I write it in theory, what is annual ordering cost? It is majorly your storage cost. Because till the material is used, what is the cost you are incurring? The storage cost. Plus, it is the loss during storage. So if you are storing, there is a possibility of incurring some loss. Plus, it is the interest cost on my inventory. Now, what is this interest cost on inventory? See, till the time I keep the material stored, that much amount of my money which I spent on purchasing that material is invested, is blocked in my inventory. And obviously, for getting that money, I have to incur some cost because I have brought that money from some bank or someone. That is where the interest cost comes in. So, your annual carrying cost is made up of 3 components. Majorly, it is storage cost. At times, it will include losses and also the interest cost. This is generally given in the sum as a percentage. So they will say in the sum that your carrying cost, which is represented by C, is 5% per annum. Now, whenever they give it as 5% per annum, you have to multiply it by this price to calculate the per unit cost. So we have to find out our carrying cost per unit. How? The purchase price multiplied by the percentage. And remember, you have to take it for per annum. So 50 rupees into 5% will be rupees 2.5. Now it will become my per kg per annum carrying cost. So carrying cost given in the question is in percentage. We multiplied by the purchase price to get my carrying cost as per unit per annum. Correct? Now, how much will be my total annual carrying cost? Pay attention. So now, once you have understood what is carrying cost, how will I get my total annual carrying cost? My total annual carrying cost will be calculated by the formula as carrying cost per unit per annum, which will be now represented by C. Now, this is the carrying cost. Chalo, for simplicity, we'll say storage. It is easy to hear and understand. So this is my storage cost of 1 unit for the whole year. Now, if I want to find out my storage cost total for the whole year, I have to multiply it by some units. Which units? Since I'm calculating storage cost, I have to multiply it by my stock units. That is, I have to multiply it by my average stock units. Simple enough. If you are calculating storage cost, you multiply it by the storage quantity. Like how when we were calculating our cost of material consumed, we were multiplying it by which quantity? The quantity which I have consumed. Now, if you want to find out the cost of storing goods, you have to multiply it by the quantity which would be stored. But interestingly, this average stock quantity is not so straightforward. So to understand average stock, let us take this example. So what I'm explaining you here is the average stock units, how it is derived. Now in this graph, here I am projecting days. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 100 or day 365. And here on the y-axis, I am showing your stock quantity. Now see how your stock appears. On day 0, that is start of your business, you make some purchase because without that, you cannot run your business. So let us say on first day, I make a purchase. So my stock quantity will be here. This is my stock quantity. You know how much this quantity is? This quantity is my order size. Why? Because how much I will get in my stock, it is the quantity for which I am placing the order. And we have just discussed the quantity for which you are placing the order is what is called as your order size. Correct? Now, the quantity which you are purchasing, which is your order size, is what is your first day quantity in your stock. I hope this is clear to everyone, right? Now, interestingly, students, pay attention. As your days are passing, what is happening? Every day, you are using some quantity for your production. So this stock is coming down every day, every day, every day, every day. And then on a particular day, the stock will become zero. Why? Because with every day you are consuming the stock in your production. See, just visualize your kitchen. What I'm explaining you is everything related to kitchen. So though it is a technical point, but you can experience it, feel it by looking at kitchen. So this is the rice quantity. Mummy purchase on day 1 because she will require it every day. Now throughout the day, she is using some quantity out of this rice for cooking, lunch, dinner, maybe even in morning, some breakfast. So every day the stock of rice is coming down, it becomes zero. And the moment it is zero, again, she will go and buy. And how much she will buy? The same quantity, which is my order size. So again, when it becomes zero, again, the stock quantity will go up to the order size. And again, the same process will run. And this process will run throughout the year. So this is a typical graph of my stock position on every day. Now, as you can see, every day, if I look at day wise, these are my different days, my stock quantities are different. They are not the same every day. They are changing. And here in the formula, I want one stock quantity. Now, when any figure is fluctuating, but you want a single figure, maths has taught us that you should take average. So I want to find out my average stock units and how that will be. One of the easiest and simplest formula of average and the most effective formula is to take the maximum plus add the minimum divided by 2. So how much is my minimum and maximum stock? If in this example, the graphical example, which is the best way to understand things practically, you will find that my maximum stock on any day is this. And what is this maximum stock? It is my order size. And what is my minimum stock? So you'll find that my minimum stocks are this. What is that? I'm writing in words 0. So going by this formula of average, maximum plus minimum upon 2, I get my formula for average stock, which will be nothing but order size upon 2. This is my formula for average stock units. And now here, because I want to find out my annual storage cost, annual carrying cost, I take stock units. Obviously, it is fluctuating, so I'm taking average, multiplying it by the per unit per annum storage cost. So effectively, my formula is order size upon 2 into C. Correct? So now I have two formulae. One for ordering cost, which is AR, that is annual requirement upon order size into O. It is not 0, it is O. And second is order size upon 2 into C. And then on the basis of these two formulae, students, we will land up with our concept of EOQ. Now, actually, there is a formula of EOQ, which if you read the module today, you'll find out. Let me just give you the formula upfront first. So the formula given in your module for EOQ is this. This is O, right? But students, this is a mathematical formula. Obviously, you will learn it and it is easy to learn. But I will explain you the most important part, that how this formula is derived. It is derived on the basis of this logic. Now, what is this logic? Pay attention. So you have three types of cost: the annual purchase cost, the annual ordering cost, and the annual carrying cost. And on the basis of these three costs, you will find out your EOQ. How? I want to find out the total material cost, which is lowest. So what I do, I calculate all the three costs: purchase cost, I add the ordering cost, and I add the carrying cost, and I get total. This I will do for all levels. Now, students, interestingly, you will find that here my ordering cost is very high, and here my ordering cost is very low. Why? Because mathematically, as I go on increasing my order size, my number of orders will reduce, because if I'm buying more at one time, I will have to go to market less. So here my ordering cost is highest, here my ordering cost is lowest. Whereas students, interestingly, when you calculate carrying cost, it will be exactly opposite. My carrying cost is highest here and lowest here. My ordering cost was highest here, lowest here. Why my carrying cost is lowest here? Because see the formula of carrying cost. What is the formula? It is order size upon 2 into C. Now, here my order size is very low. It is only 5 kgs. So upon 2 into C will give me some amount. And here my order size is very high, 100 upon 2 into the C, that is carrying cost. Obviously, I'm sure you'll understand that mathematically my carrying cost is highest here and lowest here. So interesting relationship you find is that these two costs, the annual ordering and the annual carrying, if I have to use a technical word from your maths, are inversely related. Now, students, don't worry whether you understand inverse relation or not. I'm just using the term. It has no use in understanding the concept. So both are having opposite relation. Inverse means opposite. One is highest, the other one is lowest. The other one is lowest, the first one is highest. This is what is inverse relationship. Now, what is the best way of finding out EOQ? The best way of finding out EOQ is the trial and error method. What is trial and error method? Find out total cost of all the options by finding out the three costs, add up the three costs, find out total cost. But students, you can understand this. This is very much time consuming because for every option which I have in order size, I have to find out the three costs first, make a total. Find out the three costs, make a total. This is time consuming. And this working can run into 1,000 options depending upon how much is my purchase requirement. Now, this I'm doing for one material. I have to do this for every material. So just imagine how much lengthy would be the calculation. So in maths, to simplify lengthy calculations, you have formula. Now, this is the formula. I want to explain you how this formula is derived. So for this, again, I'll use charts. See, charts is the best way of understanding the most technical part. Now here I'm showing you the order size on the x-axis, and on the y-axis I'm showing you the cost. Now, if I make a graph of only these two costs, ordering and carrying, you will find that interestingly the graph comes like this. This is the graph for carrying cost. How? As I increase my order size from 5 to 100, my carrying cost is increasing. But interestingly, the graph for ordering cost is this. When I order 100, which is my highest quantity, I get the lowest ordering cost. Why? Because I have to go to the market once. But when I'm ordering lowest, that is only 5 units, I have to go to market 20 times. So I incur cost 20 times, so it is highest. Now, we all have studied in economics that whenever you have inverse, the best option, which we call as the equilibrium, happens where there is intersection. And this intersection, let us say, is happening at 25 units order size. So 25 is EOQ. But for this intersection, either you have to prepare a graph, which is again very time consuming, or you can get this answer through this formula of EOQ. But how is this formula of EOQ derived? That is what we will study in the next class. And in the next class, we will solve the sums on EOQ. Is this clear to all students? So students, see, the subject is very interesting. Most important, it is having real life application. The only thing is that you have to be very, very particular about all the concepts. Yes, the concepts are new. They may take time to understand, but yes, you have to work hard on understanding first and also then practicing so that whatever we are understanding will become thorough in your minds. I'll take few questions in the chat. So Pratiksha is asking me, a doubt related to average stock unit. Can there be a case where the company does not let the stock become zero? Very good, Pratiksha. See, Pratiksha, your point is again very relevant, practical. So there is a possibility that the company is not letting the material become zero. But let me tell you, even in that case, you will find that our average cost will come on similar lines. How? I will take one question in our next class where I will try to cover your point to give you the answer how still our average cost working will be on similar lines. I'll give you that example. Just remind me in the next class. But right now, if I try to explain, it will be too much because now slowly we are adding the technical part and now it is conclusion of 2.5 hours. So it would be saturation of your minds. So I will not explain you right now, but do remind me. I'll definitely explain this in the next class towards the end. So students, I'll conclude my session here. We will be continuing this concept with practical sums to cover the control part of this topic in the next class. In the meantime, do study from your module this chapter because We have total 2 lectures allotted for material. I won't be able to cover theory, though I'm covering it in the form of explanation, but the virtual reading line by line is not possible in the class. So kindly do that so that you are ready with your questions relating to any of those theoretical concepts. Fine, students. So it was great interaction with you all. And yes, let me compliment you all have very good understanding. Okay, for some it may take time, but that is very okay. That is very human. So be attentive and attend our classes on regular basis live, even though you have the option of attending it even virtually. Yes, Canary Beda.
This the load landed cost which we calculated, sir. There was IGST point. What if we get the IGST credit?
Exactly. So that is what I am not covering, Beda. Too many things. That is where I actually added that IGST adjustment. Because you are going to get IGST credit, then you will reduce it again. That is where the point is. So that is what I wanted to bring out in that, that whenever there is any tax for which you are getting credit, you have to reduce it. For which you are not getting credit, you will add it. Correct?
Okay, and so one more thing. So the
Yes.
normal loss which we calculated, well, like that was 4% as per our question.
Hmm.
But there are certain cases and certain chemicals. Would mostly it happens in chemicals or perishable products where you cannot determine the exact normal loss percentage. But yeah, we know that there is going to be certain percentage. How would we deal that?
See, beta, let me tell you, when anybody is in business, na, over past experience, you always find out this percentage. See, when you know that there is a loss, you take any example. Again, I'll take a very simple example of cooking. See, I always take simple example because that you can every day go and check. I can give you industrial examples, but then that will be of no use because you have not seen that industry or that production in real life that you'll see in your articleship. But point is, when I am preparing tea, simplest example, everybody prepares tea. So I am using 2 cups, 1 cup water, and then 1 cup I am adding milk. But I will never get 2 cups of tea because during the process of making tea, some part of the liquid will get evaporated in that boiling heating process. Now, let me tell you, every industry has standards. This you remember because this will be used in every chapter. They have standards. So when they are manufacturing a product, they have set standards that okay, for getting 1 cup of, let us say, tea, how many cups of water and milk I need to add so that my output will be 1 cup. Let us say 2 cups, 1 cup water, 1 cup milk, and then boiling will give you 1 cup of tea. So I know beta practically how much is my normal loss. It may not be perfect, but every industry knows their actual percentage of normal loss, or I'll say not actual means not precise, but around what will be the normal loss. Because without that, they will not even be able to do manufacturing. Forget about costing. How will they do manufacturing? See, they know that they need to produce 100 units. If they do not know this loss percentage, how will they decide how much they have to input? So what you are saying is okay, but practically this will not happen that I do not know my loss percentage. So practically, because see, I've worked on this lines in many industries, so I can tell you with authority that this never happens that you do not know your losses. Because when you are doing manufacturing, better you have, see, that is what is engineering. What are they taught in engineering is all this. That is where engineers play a very important role in deciding the quantity. I told you in that calculation that you require two things,
Yes.
quantity and price. Pricing we do, that engineers cannot do because they do not have the commercial sense. But quantity we are not able to do because we are not having the engineering. That engineering knowledge helps in deciding the quantity. Fine, beta?
Okay, so last thing,
Yes.
this ordering cost and storage cost and EOQs we just you explained us practically. Sir, this is some little technical financial. Is inflation considered in this or that's
Everything
negligible?
is considered. Let me tell you one thing. Whatever we are going to study at inter level, nothing will be which is not there in real life. In fact, everything which we are going to study is what is going to be there in real life. So, what you are saying, everything will be discussed. But since this is your very first class of a technical topic, and that also a very, I will say, hyper technical like EOQ, which according to me is a very hyper technical concept. So, I will be adding each adjustment like Somebody said about sir, minimum stock is there, then what will happen? You are saying inflation, but everything we will be adding just in the next class when I will complete this explanation and will solve few sums on this. Then we will take up all these special cases. Fine. Just make it a point of reminding me in case if I forget any of your technical doubts, right?
Yes, sir. And so this was a tech related thing. The portal is showing 2022 notes and assignments for 26 batch, the current working batch which we are studying. The portal is,
Assignment, assignment means?
so there is this tab generally in the portal where notes and assignments are posted by BOS
Uh,
faculties, all of you.
uh, uh.
But the 26 May batch, only 2022 batches notes and assignments are posted, and it is not getting refreshed. This was
But
a tech related thing.
I'll speak to the technical team. I see. I have not seen what is actually uploaded, so I don't know what is the technical problem. But don't worry, we will get it resolved in a day or two, right? If it is by chance showing older uploads, you'll get the latest uploads because see, anyways, latest uploads have not yet happened. But I understand this because the classes are starting just now. Let us say mine is today the only the second class, right? So after the
Yeah.
classes, normally we upload whatever is there. So that is why maybe just for your reference, maybe you are seeing the older ones, but definitely you'll get all the latest ones. But still, I'll put this to
Okay.
the technical team, right?
Okay. And sir, will you be the question which we solved? You
Obviously,
which
I'll be sharing that sheet now because without that, you'll not get it for your future reference. I'll do that, Bida. Don't worry.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir, and have a good day.
Same, Bida. So thank you, students. Thank you, everyone. It was a great session, a great discussion, and keep continuing this type of discussion. Be there physically so that it is lively for you also and for me also. And yes, for all repeats, you can definitely go back to our recorded version. So you have both the benefits live for your discussion and clarity, and for revision and practice the recorded ones. So thank you all. Thank you very much. Nisarg ji,